Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Pober, and I'm the director of the Division of Interior Design here at the Christopher C. Gibbs College of Architecture. The Interior Design Division offers 3 degree programs, one CETA accredited undergraduate degree, which is a Bachelor of Interior Design, and 2 Master of Science degrees, one being a post-professional program for students who have a background degree in interior design or architecture, and a first professional program for people who are changing their careers and do not have a background in those programs. We are the oldest program in the college, over 100 years old, and we, like some of the other programs in the college, have really amazing students doing wonderful things. Americans spend 93% of their time inside. And interior designers are involved with all kinds of spaces that you're spending your time in inside, be it the stores that you shop in, the restaurants that you eat at, the schools that your children go to, the homes that you live in. And our program teaches our students to design those spaces, not only so they function appropriately, but they meet the health, safety, and welfare needs of the people who are using them, and that they also create a sense of place, that they evoke a certain type of emotional reaction and a certain type of feeling when you're inside these interior spaces. Our students are amazingly talented and highly sought after. We've had a job placement rate well over 90% for almost 10 years now, and our students go to work for top design firms across the nation. Some of our alumni have even gone on to work professionally with some of these amazing women that I'm getting ready to introduce to you. So, without further ado, our next session includes 3 quick and personal stories from Oklahomans who truly demonstrate excellence in placemaking, representing communities ranging in population from 2,000 to 5,000 to 650,000. These 3 placemakers show that placemaking efforts impact communities of all sizes. Allison Bailey is our first presenter. She is the founder and producer of the Holiday Pop-Up Shops in Oklahoma City. She also works as an urban retail specialist for Price Edward & Company, focusing on retail and office projects in the urban core, with an emphasis on historic redevelopment and mixed-use projects. Allison serves on the Arts Commission of Oklahoma City and is a board member for the Arts Council of Oklahoma City, the Urban Land Institute of Oklahoma, and Downtown Oklahoma City initiatives. Lauren Nitschke is our second presenter. She is a community advocate and volunteer who contributes to a number of initiatives in Waurika, Oklahoma. A Dallas native, Lauren graduated from Texas A&M with a degree in environmental design. She spent time working as a designer at HOK's Dallas office and later opened her own architectural graphics and wayfinding consulting business. Lauren now lives in rural Oklahoma, where she brings her design experience, her love of collaboration, and passion for regeneration to her adopted hometown of Waurika. Lastly, we have Kelly Tompkins. She is the director of Main Street Enid and co-owner of Hive Appeal Consulting. Kelly has advanced Enid's downtown revitalization through marketing, design, events, creative placemaking, community partnerships, public art, and historic preservation. During her time as director, Kelly was named Director of the Year by Oklahoma Main Street, and she helped Main Street Enid win Community of the Year and 12 other statewide awards. Please help me in welcoming Allison, Lauren, and Kelly.
It may be April, but in my world, it's never too soon to start talking about Christmas. So I'm going to touch on that a little bit today. I'm Alison Bailey, and with my team, I produce the Holiday Pop-Up Shops in Oklahoma City. The Holiday Pop-Up Shops is a temporary retail village that we started in 2012. At that time, we were seeing a burst of new development and construction projects in downtown Oklahoma City. And that was resulting in new retail space and some reclaimed retail space. I was a freelance marketing consultant for local retailers at the time, and developers were approaching my clients about these new retail spaces. And my clients were interested. They were interested in opening a second location or maybe moving their existing location downtown. But there was a little bit of a hesitancy because there weren't great examples of successful retail spaces in our downtown. So for holiday season 2012, I started the holiday pop-up shops. It was an experiment and a way for my clients and then other retailers to dip their toe into the downtown market and explore if they could be financially viable there. The question we posed to each other was this: could we use the easiest time of the year to get customers to shop, the holiday season, and convince them to choose to shop downtown? And thankfully, it worked. Last year was our 7th year to produce the holiday pop-up shops. We hosted over 43 local shops and saw an estimated 40,000 visitors over 5 weekends. For those of you that haven't been to the event, I want to break down the elements that make it happen. The event occurs from Thanksgiving to Christmas on a vacant lot in the Midtown neighborhood. It consists of 6 geodesic domes, they're 20 feet wide, installed to create a public plaza that hosts a 30-foot tall Christmas tree and a small stage for rotating musicians or spontaneous performances from kids while their parents are shopping. A beer bus and a hot chocolate stand face into the plaza, and the bistro chairs and tables surround. The domes are flanked by a Christmas tree lot that is a fundraiser for a local school, and collectively it creates a festive little temporary village. The important characteristic of the concept is that it rotates every weekend. Every weekend is different. Retailers open on Thursday at 10 a.m. and they close Sunday night at 6 p.m. And they immediately start moving out so that we have time to prepare the space for new shops that move in on Monday, who open again on Thursday at 10 a.m. Because of the rotating schedule, we can host over 40 shops in a 5-weekend season. And it also keeps customers returning to the event every weekend, creating a familiarity, a seasonal third place, if you will. And when the weather is nice, which sometimes it is in Oklahoma, the Pop-Ups Plaza is standing room only, and it's full of customers and their kids enjoying a beer or maybe hot chocolate while intermittently shopping. We originally selected the geodesic dome structure to best cope with the weather in Oklahoma, but also because it provided an atmosphere to make the pop-ups feel like real shops. The domes have tall ceilings, they're over 13 feet tall, and each dome has a real door and real storefront windows that were all intentional design choices to make the event feel more permanent than it really is. In return, the shops merchandise it like a real shop. They use real store fixtures, they use real lighting and a cash wrap. They work on their merchandising and product mix for months in preparation for the event, and sometimes it's difficult to distinguish their dome from their permanent brick and mortar. The domes and their floors take about 3 weeks to install before the season. As things do, they take about 2 days to disassemble and store. By December 28th, the property is completely empty, and it looks like we were never there. It's very much a pop-up event, and we regularly have customers that stop by afterwards to say, I swear I just shopped here 4 days ago. Where did that shop go? The project is very much a year-round endeavor, though, and retailers are probably already preparing for next year, and we are getting ready to start reviewing applications for the 2019 holiday season. Speaking of applications, this wasn't the case in the beginning, but it is the case now. We receive more applications than we have space at the event, and we take a lot of consideration in selecting the tenant mix for each week. We make sure that no 2 shops in a weekend are directly competitive with each other. We also look at the psychology of the shopping season. Who are customers buying for this week? What price point makes sense? What 2 shops complement each other and could sell complementary gifts? Retailers come from all over the state of Oklahoma to participate. Last year we had shops from McAllister, Tulsa, The Village, Norman, Edmond, and then of course Oklahoma City. Some of our shops come from a block away even because they enjoy being a part of the event so much. We require that each retailer have a brick and mortar or want to open one in the next year because we believe that an essential part of the event is that customers get to meet a shop that they can support the rest of the year, maybe when sales aren't so easy to happen. The success of the event has served as a quiet recruiter for retail downtown. Retailers have moved to downtown based on the experience in Midtown at the pop-ups, and new shops have opened after being able to pop up their concept before signing a permanent lease. Each year, we reserve at least one dome for a shop that plans to open a brick and mortar the following year, and it's been rewarding to see these shop dreams become a reality over the course of the season. Collaborations with the event have grown, and we have great relationships with restaurants in all directions. As many tactical projects do, we kind of just jumped into this, and we didn't have a definition of what success would look like. How would we know that the concept had worked? And that moment came 2 years ago when we asked our shops to tally zip codes for customers that had purchased something at the event. And we expected to see a range of suburban zip codes because that's who we thought were mainly shopping at the event. And we were delighted to see that the number one zip code was the zip code that we resided in, 73103. It's an urban zip code, and it took us by surprise. And we realized that we had accomplished a goal. We had built an event for the people that lived in the neighborhood. But after my experience with this project, I look at it as a collaboration with new development. The holiday pop-up shops is only successful because it amplified the existing resources in the neighborhood, in our case, landlords and restaurants that were helpful. It also worked because there was a real demand for the tenants that we brought to the neighborhood. Now, over a dozen food and beverage businesses are within a block, and a collection of permanent retailers are nestled on the street to the west. To be fair, development probably would have continued whether we were there or not, but we've been able to have an influence on the tenants that have chosen to be in Midtown. Planning is already underway for the 2019 season, and we hope that you'll join us and help make Midtown merry.
Thank you so much, Allison. I know I'll be shopping this season, as I usually do. Next, we will have Lauren Nitschke presenting for us.
Here we go. Thank you. Hey there, how are y'all today? Everybody awake? It's been great. Okay, so show of hands. How many of y'all are from big cities? Raise your hand so I can see you. Okay, great. How many of y'all are from small towns? Yeah, lots of you. Well, that's great. I'm both. As Elizabeth said, I'm from Dallas originally, big city girl who wound up in teeny tiny Waurika, Oklahoma about 6 years ago. Population 2,000. So what can we learn from all these big city placemaking successes, even like the pop-up shops, the ones we heard earlier about Oklahoma City? How can we do that in small towns? Well, back home, what you may see, if I can get this to work, are things that look a lot like that, especially us small town people, but maybe some of us big city people too. Maybe you dream they look a whole lot more like that. I do. So what if I told you these are exactly the same place? Well, they are. In the mid-1980s, a really forward-thinking developer named Jim Lake came across this abandoned early 1900s commercial area that had grown up around a neighborhood trolley stop. And he dreamed a truly unimagined future for it. So he put together a plan, and I mean a whole lot of money, and followed through year after year after year after year. It was not an overnight success. Tough economic times back in those times meant that leasing got off to a really slow start, even after a lot of the building improvements had been made. But one of the things that really turned the tide, that made it feel like a place that you wanted to be, was the addition of those trees in the late 90s. A city bond election had finally put those streetscape improvements in place. For over 30 years, our family lived about a dozen blocks away from what became, did anybody guess? Bishop Arts District in North Oak Cliff near downtown Dallas. We literally had front row seats to the most amazing, remarkable urban transformation I'd ever seen. So take a look at these two photos again. Those trees made a big difference. So what can us smaller communities learn here? We probably don't have huge infusions of cash from big city developers and bond elections. But I bet all of us have some kind of assets. So those trees that transform the Bishop Art streetscape, could they do the same thing for my tiny town's Main Street? Well, truth be told, Waurika already had trees all along Main Street. They looked like that. Nice, huh? Okay, really ugly trees. Prickly, ugly mushroom trees. And one of my Main Street business owners that I'm friends with reminded me to tell y'all that these were further enhanced every December by lighted hairnets. Jazzed me up, right? But trees, hey, you know, trees, Yopon holly trees, that if allowed to grow up, might become pretty amazing shade trees. Something we all need in this part of the world, right? We've talked about that today. So I started talking trees to everybody I could. Turned out a lot of residents, especially those Main Street business owners, despised those mushroom trees. I mean, despised them. Short, squatty, blocked their visibility of storefronts and signage, and poked out into the sidewalk and parking spots, ready to stab their customers in the face. I'm not kidding. I might have experienced that. They made navigating Main Street sidewalks a really, really unpleasant experience. But nobody knew how to change it. I mean, it's just the way it had always been done. Love to hear that. So, I asked, what if we could look at them differently as an asset and then transform those Yopon trees, those mushrooms, into shade trees? What if you could enjoy a stroll down a spacious, shady, welcoming Main Street sidewalk and actually enjoy the experience? More like this. And then I had an epiphany, and it involved, of all things, the Americans with Disabilities Act. So I got on the next city council agenda, told the Bishop Arts tree transformation story, amazing as it was, and explained to the commissioners that, based on my experience as a signage and wayfinding designer, the way our Main Street trees poked out into the sidewalk and parking spaces probably presented a violation of the ADA's restrictions on protrusions into the public right-of-way. Woo! And that might be even putting the city at risk for liability. And that right there got our city attorney's attention, and I mean fast. I was so excited. And guess what? Within a couple of weeks, the powers that be decided it was high time to stop those mushroom haircuts and let our trees grow up. And look at us now. So today we have the makings of 36 Bishop Art style shade trees happening right there along our Main Street. And it's all starting to feel like a place you want to be, not a place you want to avoid at all costs. And best of all, everybody loves the change. But lots of other positive things are going on in Waurika. You see, once people start believing that they have the ability to make one thing happen, momentum starts building. You have empowered citizens who are willing to take a chance that they can do something that makes a difference. One of our most visionary Waurika residents was really alarmed to learn how many of our kids go hungry in the summer when there are no school meals. So she organized dozens of volunteers to begin a summer reading and feeding program at our library. And it's been a big success, serving a bunch of kids in our town every summer with not only nutritious lunches, but lots of fun learning activities. About the same time, inspired by Jason Roberts and Better Block, another one of our visionaries who's actually here today, organized our Now Downtown Again Festival and 5K because he saw the need for people to get downtown and experience what it was like to have a bustling Main Street in Waurika, and that it can happen again. Our town's librarian ran across a grant opportunity to bring excitement, culture, and visitors to sorely lacking in all those departments, Waurika, with the Smithsonian's Museum on Main Street's traveling exhibit. She applied for the grant, and due in large part to the high number of Waurika volunteers that made that summer reading program possible, we were chosen as one of only 5 Oklahoma host sites. The way we worked is, it's a for real Smithsonian exhibit, and the excitement of having it come to Waurika, remember population 2,000, was pretty earth-shaking. So that effort pulled together over 300 volunteers. The result was one of the biggest overall facelifts our town had ever seen. And we worked incredibly hard to make our town an inviting host site, plus to create a really impressive opening weekend celebration. Main Street tours, the whole thing. So the whole story ended up making its way to a congressional hearing, Washington, D.C. congressional hearing on funding for the arts and humanities. Little old Waurika went to Washington. Our Chamber of Commerce directors saw decrepit, empty Main Street building sites and had visions of filling one of them with a local farmer's market. Took a whole lot of work, involved some equipment, lots of shovels, a lot of elbow grease, a lot of sweat, but the space was revived and was filled again with life on Saturday mornings. So now we have a farmer's market. Meanwhile, other residents saw a shady creekside city park that was really beautiful but woefully underused and envisioned a disc golf course there that would help get our residents outside, moving, and having fun together. All these successes and more in Waurika started with one person who got uncomfortable, saw an opportunity, committed, planned, and followed through on just one thing. So here's my challenge to you. Who loves their towns? Yeah, all of you. I love mine. What could happen in your town if you commit to use your experiences and your talents to do just one thing? Hey, remember those Main Street mushroom trees with the lighted holiday haircuts? They are no more. And just like those dilapidated, boarded up Bishop Arts buildings, they'd been that way for decades. So that was my one thing. The one thing I could change, that I could do, was use my professional and big city experiences to change the way we viewed Waurika's downtown trees. Not just from an aesthetic standpoint, but also from a practical standpoint that prompted real change. So there'll always be challenges in Waurika, and I'm sure in your towns too. But when you get momentum going, when you get residents empowered to do things, when you get citizens caring about your town and they realize they can do that one thing, you'll see the difference. So here's a fun little book you might want to stick in your next Amazon cart. I get no money for this, but it's full of fun stories about individual people who made a big difference doing one thing. So Chris Field, the author, does a great job of inspiring us all and really laying out all the how-tos. Get uncomfortable. Look around and see what's going on you don't like. Imagine an unimagined future. And here's the biggie. You got to commit. Make an action plan. How can you make this happen? And then follow through till you see those changes happen. Don't give up on just one thing. So, now I'm excited about what your one thing is going to bring to the town you love. Maybe you'll be up here in 2 years talking about that. So thank y'all very much. Appreciate you listening.
Thank you, Lauren. What a great story. Next, we have Kelly Tompkins.
Oh, okay, it is now. I feel like I need to yell because I'm not holding a mic. I'm going to tell you about how we pulled something interesting from our past to get people involved in Enid. So you can go ahead and play the video. So in 1911, there was a group of people who working for Enid. They called themselves boosters, and then they called people who were against progress and knocked ideas, they called them knockers. So they had this knocker parade. You forget what you already thought about that word. They had a knocker parade with these 15 pallbearers, bands, music. They went around the square. This is the funeral they had for Old Hammer. They laid him to rest. He went down. He went down low to shovel coal or something. He even had a tombstone. The news spread far and wide. A lady in Kansas wondered who died in Enid that had such a grand funeral. But they were symbolically laying pessimism to rest, and they thought it would never happen again. But with a lot of cardboard and some help, we decided we wanted to make that statement again. So as we were building a new Old Hammer to once again lay pessimism to rest, we kind of stirred up this old story from 1911. We accidentally built this hammer larger than the original. It was 25 feet long and 10 feet tall. And yes, we did get it out the door. It didn't really fit on our friend's trailer, but We posted ads that resembled the original ones and used phrases that they'd used in 1911. Back then, they were given paper red hammer pins to wear as long as they pledged never to knock again. But since it's modern day, we created a Facebook profile frame so that we could all wear our red hammers. We had enough requests. We had them made for real. I have one, and I have some with me if anyone wants one. Instead of creating a whole entire parade, we put this in the Cherokee Strip Parade, which happens every year, and this was on Enid's birthday, September 16th, happens to be my birthday too. We had 20 pallbearers and a basset hound all wearing our red pins. Some people cheered, some people just didn't know what on earth this was. Either way, it started that conversation. And we had a great time doing it. So here's the original again. We did our best to recreate. That's from the same location on the same block. Later that night, on our only remaining brick street, as the sun set, we started the new Old Hammer funeral. Benny Zell, he's a local attorney, Main Street Board member, and city commissioner. He performed the funeral, and since we could not dig a gigantic hole, we set it on fire. It made us very happy. So as some of the things that Ben said is, let's take a look at ourselves once in a while and what are we doing for our communities. Don't look for the hammer in your neighbor's hand, for you may find one in your own. He just encouraged us to have conversations and look to Enid's bright future, which was another word that was used in 1911 when they were encouraging people to be boosters for the community. The firemen, coincidentally, there was an apartment fire at the same time, and so they actually had to water it down so they could leave. Anyway, so we had the smoldering, like that never happens. But we drank beer and danced around this. We actually let it back on fire so that we could dance. Okay, I don't dance in public, but so that some people could dance, around the burning hammer. And it was just so fun to do that. Okay, so remember we just saw that a few minutes ago. In between the parade that morning, the funeral that evening, we had this wall. We painted that mural, and it's called The Bright Future. I designed it so it could be painted by the public and numbered the reachable spaces 1 through 75. People prepaid online $15 to pay to paint. So here's a Photoshop. Every time I posted this, 10 more people would sign up. But there was a 5-hour span that same day on Enid's birthday. We purposefully chose crimson and orange, knowing people would choose their college colors. And we included military green because we are home to Vance Air Force Base. In the days before, we pre-painted the sections that were above 7 feet because you don't want the public on scaffolding and ladders. And then the days following, we painted the extra coats and straightened all the lines because the public can't paint straight lines to save their lives. But it was so worth it because so many people came together and were part of this, and they made connections. And talking about social cohesion, they came together over that 5-hour time period, and we're so, so happy to be part of it. They knew we were going to straighten it up later. They were connected to this piece of art, connected to the community, connected to each other for doing this together. It was a little bit of a spark of a hint of development that's going to happen. The owner of this building is actually in the audience. Hey, Mike. Mike Clemmie. And so now he has this place on his building where people take pictures quite often. We were talking about some things earlier like walkability and public health. When you have public art in your community, you can use them for, you make that walk more interesting. They're going to walk more. And they spend money where they spend time. So when you have that environment where that's just more pleasant, people connect with it more. It feels more like home. Creative things like this send signals to young people that creativity and innovation is welcome here. And I don't feel that very many places when I was young. But, you know, when you're thinking of how to get more your kids and grandkids to come back or stay, it's creative things like this that connect them. And anyway, so it wasn't but a week before we had family photos. So many family photos are taken in front of it. We have senior photos and things like that. When people post these things, that's natural promotion for your city, because when you're posting those, it's like a friend's recommendation, which is worth more than an advertisement, because of people, you know, people believe, you know, they're taking that as a friend's recommendation. It's also accessible and free. It's like an outdoor gallery if you get enough art. And don't paint on unpainted brick, where Main Street's preservation based. But we had, just like this, Casey and Jennifer used it for their frugal and frivolous podcast image. Baby gender reveal, is it a pink triangle or is it a blue triangle? Well, it's a pink triangle. And then a few months later, baby Scarlett's first outing at 3 days old was painting Enid's next mural. So I just want to remind you all that the boosters for your towns outweigh and get more stuff done. So let's just all be boosters for our towns, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Another wonderful story. Let's all thank Allison, Lauren, and Kelly for their presentations today.
Thank you.